You know, with the Royal Rumble coming up this weekend, it's got me thinking about where it all started. You know, the Battle Royal. In the world of professional wrestling, you've got vicious no disqualification matches to end blood feuds. You've got submission matches to prove what wrestler has the best technical acumen. And then you've got the Battle Royal, which serves to say, I don't know, fuck it, dude soup, I guess. Now, I'm not trying to say that every battle royal is just a messy and misguided way to get the boys in the back a nice payday. Just most of them. And unfortunately, when you look at the history of the Battle Royal, you'll find that it was always that way. It was always just a gimmick to lure people in. It was never about seeing one competitor with the strength to overcome numerous of his peers. It was always about the novelty of seeing a bunch of individuals trapped in one location with their only options being to fight or to fall. Kind of like my family reunions. And interestingly enough, did you know the creation of the Battle Royal actually has nothing to do with professional wrestling? Strap in, folks. It's about to get weird. Meet James Figg, the father of modern-day boxing. You see, in 1719, Figg decided to open a fighting school in London, where he would teach his own fighting style, which he dubbed as Figg's Fighting, which, in addition to utilizing the strikes you would normally find in boxing at the time, also decided to incorporate various types of grappling, which his opponents would refer to as fucking bullshit, I would assume. In addition to his fighting school, he would also open an amphitheater where he would put on and promote various different fights and battles. He was quite literally one of the first wrestling promoters. So it's his fucking fault we're all here. But in addition to his bare knuckle boxing bouts and tiger baiting, I guess, it's also where we saw the introduction of the Battle Royal, at least in name. Brought to us by this man, who looks like if the yellow M&M got diagnosed with clinical depression, Jack Broughton. In fact, for a time, his matches, which saw 8 different competitors going toe-to-toe in the boxing ring at the exact same time, were called Broughton's Battle Royals and were the talk of the town. But unfortunately, as time went on, Figg and Broughton's battle royals and bear baiting began to be seen as too barbaric and too dangerous for a place as civilized as the United Kingdom. Yeah, sure, pal. But like all great things barbaric and dangerous, the Battle Royal packs up its bags and moves into its forever home, America, baby. That's right, you see, after the American Civil War, the country was clamoring for action and the Battle Royal was ready to give it to them. Initially, it only started in the southern United States, but after a while, Battle Royal fever had gripped the nation, and it had all sorts of crazy gimmicks, like blindfolding their competitors or tying their hands behind their backs, and they were actually really progressive fights for the time too, because all of the competitors were African Americans. So when you think of... Oh no. Yeah, not a great time in the history of the old Battle Royal here. You see, the origins of the match in America actually began as a competition practiced by slaves during the few holidays they were afforded. Then, after the Civil War and their emancipation, they found themselves right back in the same Battle Royals, except this time it wasn't for a holiday, it was for the amusement of cheering crowds of people who were, shockingly, almost entirely white. Wasn't exactly a great time, and it's what led to Ralph Ellison opening his book Invisible Man with a blind battle royal, which served as a very apt metaphor for the bullshittery going on in the country at the time. Luckily, in 1911, the New York State Athletic Commission began to ban battle royals from boxing events, and after a while, the rest of the nation followed suit. So, we have a senseless, barbaric fighting stipulation that was simply made as a gimmick to get people in the door with an insanely racist and problematic history. Which makes it perfect for professional wrestling, am I right? Around the 1930s or so, the colliding semis of peanut butter and chocolate finally meet when the world of professional wrestling decides to bring the battle royals to their cards. Unlike the barbaric racist acts that were happening in the boxing variant of the sport, however, the unique world of professional wrestling decided to evolve it into something different altogether, which apparently involved a lot of tomatoes and snow. They were throwing a lot of spaghetti on the wall at the time, and not much of it sticked. But if we fast forward a couple of years, we'll find the Battle Royal concept to be nearly perfected. 10, 20, sometimes 30 competitors, all in one ring, battling it out to see who can go over the top rope and who can be the last man standing. Apparently, early on, they tried to eliminate people via pinfall. I assume that got cut out when too many referees got trampled. Throwing your opponent over the top rope is a much safer way of doing things. And with that one small tweak, the Battle Royal formula saw itself perfected. Didn't stop people from fucking with it, though. You see, the Battle Royal always seemed to be missing a little something something, and every wrestling promoter in existence has thrown their name in the hat, attempting to come up with the next great stipulation to make the Battle Royal truly perfected. What if you threw your opponent into the ring instead of out of it? Or what if you threw him out of one ring and then into another ring? What if there were 3 fucking rings? And I'll be honest, there is one version of the Battle Royal that sticks out above all others: the Royal Rumble. You see, the Royal Rumble evolved the Battle Royal forward in a very interesting way. You could actually see what was going on during it. At the end of the day, every Royal Rumble just begins with this giant homunculus of flailing limbs and baby oil. In fact, I'd argue every Battle Royal begins with just like 5 minutes of trying to figure out who's where and what's what. It's like Where's Waldo, but if you got punched during it. Meanwhile, in the Royal Rumble, you only start with 2 competitors, and every 1 to 2 minutes, only one other competitor is added. It helps build storylines, it keeps the audience's attention, it builds better surprises. In fact, it's such a great play on the Battle Royal concept, WWE made a whole pay-per-view around it. But unfortunately, I am not here today to talk about the best Royal Rumble. I am here to talk about the best Battle Royal. Although I will say, just go back and watch the 2010 Royal Rumble one more time. It absolutely slaps. You've got the CM Punk Sermon on the Mount. You've got HBK desperately trying to challenge The Undertaker for WrestleMania one more time, leading to my favorite elimination from any Royal Rumble in history. And it was won by the dude from Money Plane. Now, if we're going off strictly Battle Royal rules, there are a lot of matches I could pull out. There's the original one, the one that started it all, WrestleMania 2, that big Battle Royal that saw your favorite WWF wrestlers going toe-to-toe with football players for some reason, and which was won by Andre the Giant, a man who has now become synonymous with the Battle Royal in WWE. Or there's the WrestleMania X7 Battle Royal, which saw your favorite characters from 80s and 90s WWF returning for one last chance at glory, and which was won by the Iron Sheik, who utilized an interesting technique for victory. He couldn't take a bump, so he had to be the last one left in the ring. But my personal favorite Battle Royal, which makes it the best Battle Royal, obviously, has to go to the first ever Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania 30. Now, I am a little bit biased here because I was at WrestleMania 30. No big deal. And I do believe being in attendance for an event will kind of change your perspective on certain matches. But also, you can't lie to yourself and say you didn't jump out of your seat when Claudio Castagnoli, Cesaro at the time, picked up the 400-pound Big Show, walked him over to the ropes, and dumped him over. It was the crowning moment for the Swiss Superman. I'll be honest, I got no clue what happens in the rest of the Battle Royal. Don't know who was in it, could give less of a shit. But that moment of seeing Cesaro pick up Show, walk him over, and dump him to the ground, that's a moment that's going to stick with me forever. And then WWE ruined it. Now, while that might be my favorite strict rules Battle Royal, it's not my favorite battle royal of all time. It's not the best battle royal. Because like I said, the traditional battle royal concept has been close to perfection for a very long time. That's why every single promoter of all time has messed with it, trying to get that little step closer towards perfection. But no one's been able to do it outside of the Royal Rumble until Tony Khan and AEW introduced the Casino Battle Royal. Now, before you come at me about this being an AEW versus WWE thing, it's not. I like both sides of the coin. I love Roman Reigns and I love Kenny Omega. I love the Usos and I love the Young Bucks. I love Sami Zayn and I love Sammy. I'm just saying I like both sides of the coin. And besides, the reason I adore the Casino Battle Royal doesn't come down to the company that did it or who was in it. It comes down to momentum. Which is why I would like to officially welcome you to the Fight Boys Matchinator 2K22, ladies and gentlemen. In this mystical program, I can generate any type of matchup I would like, as long as it's not intergender. So, like I've already detailed, there are quite a few problems with the Battle Royal. Mainly the fact that it's only the last minutes that really matter, because everything before that is just a giant mess. Plus, the action in a battle royal starts at 100% and only dwindles from there. It's hard to build to anything with the exception of a few showdowns here and there. Not to mention, you can't do surprises in a battle royal with the exception of the entrances and then maybe if you have somebody under a mask who wins the whole thing. It's just that there's nothing important about a battle royal at all. So now let's move on to the Royal Rumble, which certainly fixes the problem of the action starting at 100%, but it also kind of creates the exact opposite issue. There's always that middle bit of the Rumble that feels like a slog as everyone's just waiting for the next big surprise to wake everybody up and bring them to their feet, which is what brings me to the biggest strength and the biggest weakness of the Royal Rumble: surprises. You see, the Royal Rumble is known for its surprises, whether that's an injured wrestler returning from a long hiatus, a Hall of Famer showing up for one last big pop, or that one time Drew Carey showed up for some reason, I guess. But unfortunately, that's kind of conditioned us to expect surprises around every corner, which isn't exactly a good thing for a match that's made up of mostly your normal talent. Now, that's not to disparage the main roster. They deserve love, and they absolutely deserve that spot in the Royal Rumble, but when you're conditioned to expect this, and instead you get this, you're gonna end up disappointed. Which brings me to the Casino Battle Royal, which isn't perfect by any means, but it certainly seems to walk the line between the grandioseness of an epic Royal Rumble and the complete ness of a Battle Royal. And let's start by thinking about who starts the matchup. In a Battle Royal, you begin with 100% of your competitors in the ring, and that number only gets lower as things go on. The Royal Rumble, you start with about 6% of your competitors in the ring, and that can slowly increase. Now, that fixes things a little bit, but like I said, it kind of takes some time to build the crowd into a fever pitch. But now the Casino Battle Royal starts with 25% of the competitors in the ring, and instead of entrants coming out one at a time, they come out in groups of 5, appropriately named the Clubs, Hearts, Spades, and Diamonds, with one final wild card to enter at the end. In addition to helping pace the match a whole lot better, the addition of these groups also helps audience engagement. It reduces the opportunity for people to be disappointed, and every new group of entrants completely change the landscape of a match. Look at the first ever Casino Battle Royal, the best Battle Royal of all time. There, I said it. Yell at me in the comments. Go. Just look at the Spades from that matchup, the last group to enter. You had the violent and terrifying Luchasaurus who would chokeslam men through tables, and then you had the high-flying and nimble Marco Stunt who would provide some acrobatics and fun spots to watch. Then, of course, you had Sonny Kiss coming out to provide the 3 A's: athletics, attitude, and God, that ass. And then Tommy Dreamer. If you are an old school ECW guy, there you go. And then, if you don't like anything we've given you so far, there was Orange Cassidy. The likelihood for disappointment in any of the groups in a casino battle royal is next to none. It also allows you to introduce to your audience a whole slew of new talent without having to worry about them being the main focal point under a judging audience like they would be in a Rumble situation. They won't worry too much about who the hell Mark Quinn or Jungle Boy is because, hey, Glacier's here! Which would allow Mark Quinn, Jungle Boy, Isaiah Cassidy, Sonny Kiss, Marco Stunt, and others the opportunity to get in the ring and win the audience over by doing what they do best. Wrestle. The Royal Rumble's biggest strength is returns, and the Casino Battle Royal's biggest strength is introductions, which is why it should be no surprise that the first ever Casino Battle Royal introduced AEW to the man that would become their biggest hero, and it was completely on accident. Sitting here 3 years later, I can say with certainty that it was really never any doubt that AEW's first breakout star would be Hangman Adam Page. But in 2019, nothing was certain. We didn't know what the future of the company looked like, and for Hangman Adam Page, he wasn't even scheduled to wrestle in the Battle Royal that night. Instead, he was scheduled to face off against a real bastard. But unfortunately, Page's eagerness led him to answer an open challenge by Pac in the UK, during which the third corner of the Death Triangle violently assaulted Page's knee, putting him on the shelf and quite possibly out of Double or Nothing. Which brings me to one of my favorite things about the Casino Battle Royal: the wild card, the final entrant, a guaranteed surprise, a guaranteed moment, something that everyone in the audience is looking forward to, a literal crescendo of action that sees every single body in the arena turn towards the entranceway and see who's going to be coming out. It's seen the AEW debuts of Lio Rush, of Matt Sydal, of Ruby Soho, and on that night in 2019, in the first match in AEW history, it saw the birth of cowboy shit, as Hangman rushed the ring, took everybody out, and sent the massive Luchasaurus careening to the outside before nearly being eliminated himself. Because in addition to introducing us to AEW's greatest hero, the first ever Casino Battle Royal also introduced us to its greatest villain. If there was an MVP for the biggest piece of shit during the Casino Battle Royal, that award would have to go probably to the cameraman that missed Joey Janela getting a cigarette stapled to his forehead, but MJF's a close second. Here, let's go down a laundry list, why don't we? Attacked a double amputee immediately as the bell rang before later eliminating him, insulted and ran down then fan favorite Brandon Cutler as just a favor for the Young Bucks, mocked the debuting Shawn Spears before getting his absolute shit pushed in, did whatever the hell this is. I poked to Brian Pillman Jr., taking out Marco Stunt when he was flossing, and quite appropriately earning this three-man beatdown before finally trying to sneak back in the ring and eliminate Hangman Page for the victory. But tonight is not the night for Maxwell Jacob Friedman. He would have to wait, because tonight marks the beginning of a near 3-year journey to championship gold for Hangman Page. And it starts with Chris Jericho at All Out. I guess that's the reason I rate this match so highly, is because it's not just a match. It's not just a battle royal. This is your AEW blueprint. This is your all elite wrestling syllabi. This is what you go to be introduced to the future mainstays, the main eventers, hell, the future champions of this company. It was the spark, the lighting on the fuse of the dynamite. It's the name of the show. The lighting of the fuse on the dynamite that is to come. This, in just what was supposed to be a simple dark match to lure people in to buy the pay-per-view, also introduced us to the next 5 years of this company. And look, I get it if you don't like the match. On paper, I shouldn't like the match. I mean, at the end of the day, the commentary was a mess. Camera work was shoddy. You didn't know what was happening half the time. But if we've learned anything today from the history of the Battle Royal, they were never supposed to be good. But this one, the 2019 Casino Battle Royal, it's the best one. But hey, do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments below. Given what I've read about this specific battle royal on the internet, I'm sure at least 95% of you disagree with me. But hey, leave that comment below. Let me know what you think the best battle royal is. I'd love to hear you out. We can talk about it, have fun wrestling discourse. Just don't be an asshole, because that makes it not fun, and wrestling is fun here on the Fight Boys YouTube channel. And as always, remember to like, comment, and subscribe, because when you're a fight boy, you're a fight boy for life.